Layla Bennett wasn't doing anything unusual, just sitting at Gate A13 scrolling through her phone, waiting for her flight to Indianapolis. 16 years old, hoodie pulled low over her eyes, earbuds in, backpack at her feet. A young black girl traveling alone, confident, calm, and completely unaware that in the eyes of some, that made her suspicious. She'd flown solo before. Her mom had booked the flight weeks ago, double-checked every detail like always. Boarding pass? Check. ID? Check. Everything was in order until it wasn't. The first sign was the stare. An older white woman, seated a few rows down, kept glancing her way. Not the kind of look you give someone familiar. It was the kind that lingered, that judged, the kind that turned curiosity into quiet accusation. Layla tried to brush it off. Then came the uniformed staff member, walking straight toward her, not scanning the room, not questioning anyone else, just her. "Excuse me, miss. May I see your boarding pass?" She blinked, heart skipping. Sure. And your ID?" She hesitated. "Is there a problem?" "Just a routine check." But it didn't feel routine. No one else around her was being stopped. Not the businessmen, not the couples sipping coffee, just the black teenager with the hoodie and the backpack. Moments later, Layla was being led away past the gate, down the terminal, into a private security room. No explanation, no apology, just suspicion. She hadn't done anything, but she looked like someone who might. That was enough for them. What they didn't know was that Layla wasn't alone. And when her father arrived, the system that judged her would be forced to answer, because this wasn't about a missed flight. This was about being black in America and refusing to stay silent. Layla walked stiffly beside the TSA agent, her sneakers quiet against the polished floor. The murmuring buzz of the terminal faded behind her with each step. She kept her head high, but her grip tightened around the straps of her backpack. People stared just like the woman back at the gate, but no one said a word. The agent hadn't explained anything. Not really. "Your ticket was flagged," he said, as if that answered every question. But flagged for what? She had cleared the security checkpoint like everyone else. Her boarding pass had scanned fine. Her bag had been checked. So what had changed between then and now other than someone deciding she didn't belong? Layla glanced over her shoulder. Nobody was following. Nobody else had been pulled aside. Not the college guys in sweatshirts, not the family with 3 kids and gold iPads, just her. Inside the small security room, the air felt colder, harsher. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. There was a metal table in the center and 2 uniformed staff, one with a clipboard, the other standing with his arms crossed. "Set your bag on the table," the woman with the clipboard instructed. Layla hesitated. "I already went through TSA." "This is an additional screening," the man said flatly. "For what reason?" she asked, trying to steady her voice. The woman smiled tight and fake. "Just a precaution." Layla placed her backpack on the table, watching as the man unzipped it and began rifling through her belongings like he expected something illegal to fall out. Her journal, her charger, a pack of gum, a sweatshirt. Nothing. Still, they kept going. "Where are you flying to?" the woman asked. "Indianapolis." "Who purchased your ticket?" "My mom." "You're traveling alone?" "Yes, like I've done before." The man and woman exchanged glances. Her answers didn't seem to matter. Their minds had already been made up. Layla clenched her fists, nails digging into her palms. She wasn't going to cry. Not here, not in front of them. "Do you have any cash on you?" the woman asked. "What does that have to do with anything?" "It's a standard question." Layla narrowed her eyes. "I have a debit card. Is that a problem?" The woman scribbled something on her clipboard. Then came the words that made Layla's heart lurch. "We'll need to take your picture for documentation." Layla froze. Her instincts screamed no. This wasn't about safety. This was about control. And for the first time since she left her seat at Gate A13, Layla felt afraid. Layla took one cautious step back from the table. "Why do you need to take my picture?" she asked, her voice a notch above a whisper. "It's for documentation," the woman repeated, her tone clipped. "Standard procedure in cases like this." "Cases like what?" Layla's chest tightened. She'd done nothing, said nothing, broken no rule. But here she was, standing in a sterile room under the glare of fluorescent lights, being treated like a suspect. And no matter how polite they sounded, everything about this felt like punishment. "This isn't right," she muttered. The stocky male agent straightened. "Excuse me?" "I said this isn't right," she repeated, louder this time. "I've flown alone before. Nobody's ever treated me like this." His face hardened. "Are you refusing to comply with a lawful security request?" Her pulse quickened. She could hear it in her ears, thump, 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 like a warning drumbeat. She wanted to scream, but she also knew better. A wrong word, the wrong tone, and they'd twist it into non-compliance. "I just want to get to my flight," Layla said, forcing her voice to steady. "That's it." "Then stand against the wall," the woman instructed, pulling out a small camera from the drawer. Layla didn't move. "No," she said, firm, clear, immediate. The man's hand drifted toward his radio. "Security to Terminal B secondary screening area," he said calmly. "Non-compliant subject." Layla's stomach dropped. Her eyes darted to the door. She wasn't going to run, but every part of her screamed to escape. Her fingers trembled as she reached for her phone. The woman stepped forward. "Put that away!" But Layla already had her thumb on the screen. She tapped the one contact that mattered most. Dad. It rang once, twice, then, "Layla?" She exhaled. Her father's voice was calm, deep, steady, everything she wasn't in this moment. "They're trying to kick me out of the airport," she said, barely holding back tears. Silence. Then, "Where are you?" "Some back room, near Terminal B." "I'm on my way," he said. No hesitation. The agents didn't know who he was, but they were about to find out. Layla lowered the phone and locked eyes with the woman. "I'm not alone," she said quietly. And suddenly, neither of them looked so confident. The room felt smaller now, tighter, like the walls had started pressing in. Layla stood her ground, her phone still clutched in her hand. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. "I'm on my way." It was the first thing all day that had made her feel like she could breathe, but the agents didn't care. The man's fingers still hovered near his radio, ready to call for more backup, while the woman eyed her like a problem that needed fixing. "You can make this easier on yourself," the woman said, voice sickly sweet. "Just stand for the photo and we'll be done." Layla clenched her jaw. "No." The male agent stepped forward. "You're causing a disruption." "No," Layla shot back. "You pulled me from my gate. You searched my stuff. You made me feel like a criminal for sitting quietly and waiting for my flight." The woman's smile faded. "Miss Bennett." "I'm 16, Layla snapped, her voice cracking with equal parts fear and fury. "And I know what this is. You didn't stop anyone else. Just me. Why, because I'm black? Because I wore a hoodie? Because I don't look like I belong in first class?" Neither agent responded, but their silence said enough. Outside the room, footsteps echoed. Layla turned instinctively, heart thudding. Was it him? The door didn't open. Not yet. The male agent's tone hardened. "Either you comply, or you'll be removed from the airport." Layla swallowed hard. Removed for what? For being a potential security risk. She blinked, stunned. "A security risk?" Her voice dropped. "I'm just trying to get home." The woman folded her arms. "This can end now if you cooperate." Layla shook her head. "It already ended, the moment you decided I was guilty without asking a single real question." And for a second, just a flicker, she saw it in the agent's eyes. Doubt. Then came the voice that broke the tension like a thunderclap. "Excuse me," a deep voice said from the doorway. "What the hell is going on in here?" The agents turned. Layla spun around. There, standing tall in a tailored navy blue suit, eyes sharp as glass, was Malcolm Bennett. Her father had arrived, and the balance of power had just shifted. The room went silent. Malcolm Bennett didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His presence alone, tall, broad-shouldered, with calm fury etched into every line of his face, said everything. Layla exhaled, her grip on her phone loosening just slightly. "Who's in charge here?" Malcolm asked, his gaze scanning the room like a courtroom. The woman with the clipboard stepped forward, her confidence visibly shaken. "I am. Patricia Hines, Airport Administration." Malcolm didn't look impressed. "And you are?" He nodded toward the TSA agent still standing rigid near Layla. "James Wilcox, TSA Lead Officer." Malcolm took one step into the room and held up his phone. "I just got off the line with the airport's general counsel. They know I'm here. Now someone explained to me why my daughter, who cleared security, had valid ID, and was sitting quietly at her gate, is being held in a private room and threatened with removal." No one spoke. Layla watched the shift happen, the same agents who had loomed over her minutes ago, now suddenly unsure, like kids caught with their hands in the wrong drawer. Wilcox cleared his throat. Her ticket was flagged. Malcolm raised an eyebrow. Flagged? By whom? It's an automated system, Patricia offered quickly. Right, Malcolm said. And how many other passengers on that same flight were flagged and pulled into a room like this? Silence. That's what I thought. He stepped closer to the desk, calm but unrelenting. You searched her, interrogated her, attempted to photograph a minor without parental consent, and now you want to play this off as routine? Wilcox looked at the floor. Malcolm pulled a card from his wallet and placed it on the table. I'm a civil rights attorney. I've handled federal discrimination cases for over 20 years. If you think this is going away quietly, think again. Layla felt a shift in the air, not just power, but protection. Her father turned to her. You okay, kid? She nodded, voice caught in her throat. Then Malcolm faced Patricia and Wilcox again. You're going to walk her back to her gate, he said, voice razor sharp. And you're going to apologize publicly, because the real flight you're about to miss isn't hers. It's your own descent into liability. They didn't argue. They just nodded. Because in that moment, they finally understood. They had picked the wrong girl and the wrong father. The walk back to Gate A13 was quiet, too quiet. Patricia Hines walked one step behind Layla, clipboard hugged tightly to her chest like a shield. Officer Wilcox kept his eyes forward, face flushed with a silent tension. And Malcolm Bennett, he strolled calmly beside his daughter, every inch of him radiating purpose and control. Layla didn't speak. She didn't need to. The silence said more than words ever could. As they moved through the terminal, passengers turned their heads. Some watched curiously, others whispered. A few even recognized her, the girl who'd been pulled aside earlier without reason, now flanked by airport officials like some kind of VIP, or a problem no one wanted to admit they'd created. Her seat by the gate was still there. Her backpack, untouched, sat exactly where she'd left it, as if the whole ordeal had been a nightmare. But everything had changed. Patricia stopped a few feet away, cleared her throat, and shifted her weight. Miss Bennett, she began stiffly, we apologize for the inconvenience you experienced. Layla raised an eyebrow. That's it? Malcolm asked, folding his arms. After what you put her through? Wilcox stepped forward, voice low. We regret the misunderstanding. Malcolm let out a short laugh. Misunderstanding? No, I think you understood exactly what you were doing. Patricia swallowed hard. Sir, we didn't mean... Do you have children, Ms. Hines? Malcolm interrupted. She blinked. Yes. Then imagine this was your daughter. Imagine her being dragged from her seat, interrogated, accused, humiliated for absolutely nothing. Would regret be enough? She looked away, shame creeping across her features like a shadow. Around them, the whispers had grown louder. Passengers were listening, some recording. Layla could feel it, the moment shifting. The story wouldn't stay in this gate. It was already spilling out thread by thread into the world beyond these walls. Malcolm glanced at his watch. You've wasted enough of her time, he said coolly. Her flight boards soon. Then he turned to Layla, his tone softening. You good? She nodded slowly. Yeah, I think I am. As she sat back down, the agents still hovered nearby, unsure whether to stay or disappear. They looked small now, not just because of Malcolm, but because of the truth staring back at them. The girl they'd tried to silence wasn't going anywhere, and the story they tried to bury was just beginning to rise. Layla sat back in her seat, fingers gripping the edge of the plastic armrest. Her gate buzzed with pre-boarding chatter, but her world felt suspended, like she was somewhere between reality and something larger. Malcolm leaned beside her, typing rapidly on his phone. No drama, no flourish, just facts. She watched him carefully choose every word, dates, times, names, what had happened, who had said what. The phrases were precise, legal, but behind every sentence was a quiet fury, not just as a lawyer, but as a father. When he finished, he turned the screen toward her. You okay with this? He asked. Layla read it once, then twice. The knot in her chest began to loosen. It wasn't just about her anymore. This was for every black teenager who had ever been pulled aside for no reason. Every young person made to feel like they didn't belong. Post it, she said. Malcolm tapped send. Within seconds, the statement was live published to the Bennett Legal Group website and shared across every major platform. By the time Layla refreshed her phone, the comments had already started rolling in. "This is outrageous. This could have been my child. Sue them, every last one. Following this story closely, thank you for speaking out." Layla's own fingers hovered over her phone screen. She opened her social media app. The cursor blinked in the empty text box, waiting. She typed slowly, heart pounding. "I was humiliated today, pulled from my gate, treated like a threat, for nothing. But I wasn't alone and I'm not staying silent." She hesitated, then hit post. The notifications began instantly. Likes, comments, shares. Across the terminal, a woman looked up from her phone, locking eyes with Layla. She gave a subtle nod, quiet solidarity. A man walking past glanced at Malcolm, then at Layla, his expression unreadable. She couldn't tell if he recognized them or just sensed something important had happened. And in a way, it had. A single moment a girl sitting at a gate had become something more. Because now, people were watching. And this story wasn't just hers anymore. It belonged to everyone who had ever been told, in 100 different ways, "You don't belong. Not today. Not anymore." By the time boarding began, Layla's post had been shared over 4,000 times. By the time the plane took off, it was trending. And by the time she landed in Indianapolis, the number had tripled. Her story, raw, simple, and painfully real, had struck a nerve. Across social media, the hashtags #flying, while black and #justice4Layla lit up timelines. News outlets picked it up before dinner. Commentators on podcasts, Twitter threads, and YouTube panels began dissecting every detail. And with every share, every retweet, the ripples spread wider. Meanwhile, in Phoenix, things were unraveling. The airport released a short, sterile statement about an incident under internal review. But the public wasn't buying it. Patricia Hines and Officer Wilcox, once anonymous cogs in a system, were now being named in headlines, tagged in posts, and scrutinized by people far beyond Terminal B. Layla sat on her bed that night, phone buzzing nonstop beside her, still trying to process the weight of it all. "I didn't expect this," she whispered. Malcolm stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her with a mix of pride and concern. "You didn't post it to be famous," he said. "You posted it to be heard, and people are listening." She nodded slowly. "But now what?" He walked over, sat beside her, and handed her his laptop. The screen displayed a draft of the formal legal complaint, a 12-page document detailing every violation: unlawful detainment of a minor, racial profiling, attempted coercion without parental consent. It was happening. For real. But more than that, calls had already started coming in. Civil rights groups wanted to support. A national organization requested an interview. A group of black airline employees reached out privately to say, "We see you, we've been there too." It wasn't just a story anymore. It was a movement. And Layla? She was no longer just a girl at a gate. She had become a symbol not by choice, but by necessity. Still, none of it erased what had happened. The fear, the humiliation, the way her hands had trembled when they called her a security risk. That didn't vanish with likes and shares. But now, at least, it had meaning. Now, it could spark change. Layla picked up her phone again. Another message had come through, this time from a girl she didn't know. "They did the same thing to me last year. I was too scared to speak up. Thank you." Layla's throat tightened. The ripples were real, and they were just beginning. The glass walls of the conference room offered a panoramic view of Terminal B, but no one was looking out. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Patricia Hines sat at the head of the table, lips pressed into a firm line as senior TSA officials, airport PR staff, and legal advisors shuffled papers and avoided eye contact. The story had exploded far beyond their control. The phrase racial profiling was now attached to their airport. National news anchors replayed clips of Layla's post while legal analysts picked apart the airport's response or lack thereof. "We need to release a second statement," someone said. "More personal, more human." "No," another cut in. "It's too late for statements. The Bennetts are filing a formal complaint. It's going to court." Patricia rubbed her temples. She had fielded calls from city officials, the Department of Transportation, even the mayor's office. Everyone wanted answers and a scapegoat. Downstairs, tucked inside a small TSA operations room, Devin Carter watched the same chaos unfold from a distance. 23, fresh out of college, Devin had joined TSA as part of a diversity recruitment initiative. He'd believed in the mission: safety, integrity, fairness. But after watching the video of Layla, her voice trembling, eyes filled with disbelief, something cracked. He'd seen it happen before. Quiet bias, selective scrutiny. The way certain passengers were randomly selected more often than others. But this time, it was public. This time, it couldn't be ignored. His supervisor entered the room and paused when he saw the news feed on Devon's screen. "Turn that off," the man muttered. "It's not our problem." Devon didn't move. "Isn't it?" The man stiffened. "You weren't involved. Don't make it yours." But Devon couldn't look away, not from the truth. Not from the girl who reminded him of his own little sister, proud, smart, trying to get home, only to be treated like a threat. Upstairs, Patricia's voice pierced the silence. "We need to get ahead of this. Someone schedule a meeting with Layla Bennett." Devon sat still, heart pounding. He didn't know what he could do yet, but for the first time since putting on the uniform, he knew what side of the line he wanted to stand on. Because behind every closed door in that airport, something had shifted. And not everyone inside the system was willing to stay silent anymore. The airport looked different this time. As Layla walked through security at Indianapolis International a week after the incident, her steps were calm, deliberate. Her hoodie was still up, her head was still high, but something inside her had changed. This time, the agents didn't pull her aside. No one questioned her ID, no one stared too long. And yet, she could still feel the weight of what had happened in Phoenix, not as a burden, but as a reminder. She was not the same girl who had sat quietly at Gate A13, afraid to speak, unsure if anyone would believe her. Now, the world had listened. The complaint her father filed had gone public, backed by multiple civil rights organizations. TSA launched an internal review. Patricia Hines and Officer Wilcox were placed on administrative leave pending investigation. And Devon Carter, the young TSA agent who had once felt powerless, sent Layla a private message 2 days ago. "Thank you for standing up. You gave some of us the courage to do the same." As she waited near her gate, Layla scrolled through the messages still pouring in. A mother in Chicago, a student from Atlanta, a pilot who'd seen too much and said too little, strangers who now felt connected through her voice. Then came the announcement. Flight 214 to Washington, D.C., now boarding. Layla stood and slung her backpack over her shoulder. This flight wasn't for school or sports. It was for something more. She had been invited to speak at a National Youth Justice Summit, not just as a guest, but as a keynote speaker. Her story had traveled far, and now she was following it. As she boarded, she glanced back toward the terminal. No chaos, no agents, no fear, just forward motion. She settled into her window seat and took one last look at her phone. Her fingers moved instinctively, drafting a new post. "I was profiled, interrogated, disrespected, but I spoke up, and I was heard. This is for every voice that felt ignored. Let's keep talking, keep pushing, keep flying." She hit send. Outside, the plane taxied toward the runway, and as the wheels lifted off the ground, so did Layla, carried not just by engines, but by truth, courage, and the undeniable force of her own voice. The story of Layla Bennett serves as a powerful reminder that dignity is not something we earn, it is something we all deserve. Her experience at the airport exposes a painful truth many still face, that assumptions, often rooted in bias, can strip a person of their humanity in an instant. But what Layla teaches us, especially those of us who've seen the arc of history bend slowly toward justice, is that silence never protects us, it only prolongs the harm. In a world that often rushes past quiet injustices, her courage and the unwavering support of her father reminds us of the importance of speaking up, especially for the voiceless. As elders, we have the wisdom and responsibility to ensure younger generations inherit a world that is not just more advanced, but more just. Whether it's calling out unfairness, supporting those who are targeted, or simply listening with compassion, we all have a role to play. Because change doesn't begin in courtrooms or headlines, it begins in hearts that refuse to look away. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. See you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. See you in the next one.